Calling this video Making It Stick. And here are a few simple tools that you can use to actually create momentum, keep people focused, create short-term rewards, have some celebration, and be working very specifically towards a very specific goal. So here we go with Making It Stick. Now, the tools that I'm putting together here are two. One from a gentleman, a Rockefeller, at one stage, David Rockefeller, one of the richest people in the world. Clearly lots of input from his family as well. So he has this concept that senior leaders, and in fact anyone on a team, can really only ever have 5 absolutely essential priorities. Therefore that's the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put the +1 here because he also says that at any one time you can really only ever be focused on one particular thing. Now, another gentleman called Michael Watkins has this concept that's built around the idea of 30, 60, 90 days. So this sort of natural, almost moon type of time period. 28 days is a little more complicated than sticking with 30 days, hence 30, 60, 90. And his original research was exploring people, expats who went into, took a job overseas, for example, and the psychological cycle that they actually went through, and what happens roughly around 30 days, 60 days, and at 90 days. Many people actually experience this significant slump. They have what we call cognitive dissonance. Have I done the right decision? Is this good for me? And then in many cases will actually decline the position or try to get back to where they come from, or just stay and be very unhappy. And so that's very expensive for both the individuals, their families, and also the business. So that's where it all started. And so we started to explore the concept of this and use the power of that to actually enhance the experience and build a model. And we've taken it and turned it into something very practical, which also comes out of Michael Watkins' research. So at 30 days, for an innovation and new thinking model, you want to actually have some real firmed up ideas of what this actually is. You might use the Simon Sinek why, how, what model to be thoughtful about what it is that you're wanting to achieve. By 60 days, you want to have some forms of concrete plans. You want to have people in place, structure in place, processes that you want to use, how you get on with it. And at 90 days, you actually have a significant check-in. So where are we at? Sort of almost like a stop, go, change kind of check-in model here. So we like to combine these two pieces. So have our top priorities, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for our 30-day target, for our 60-day target, and our 90-day target. Now these clearly might, some of these I'm assuming would be the same. Some are very likely to change, and in fact we've used this many times. We know that they do change over time. These milestones need to be very, very specifically marked. The dates need to be set, the times need to be set, and the process of what's going to happen needs to be set. One company we worked with that did this incredibly well had multiple cultures within it. It was a mining company, so there were Americans, South Africans, Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders in particular, and a group of Scottish folks and Dutch. So very different cultures, very different ideas about time and how you would actually go about that. So at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we'd have what we call the 30, 60, 90 day room. It was a meeting, 7:30 till 8:30, very clear about who had to be there, what leaders were going to be, and how this was presented. These printed on very large sheets, and then the milestones actually put together. Incredibly successful. And what it also did was a little bit punitive. So those who were on track and very honest about this, felt good about it, and it was those who actually hadn't been following it in these particular projects. There were 6 teams working on specific things. It became very clear, and it was very motivating for many of them, and it was a very nice way for bosses to be able to have a rich conversation with what wasn't working. So start out with, here's a simple template. Remember the 5 top priorities. In fact, David Rockefeller says it's even better to stick with 3. Now, one of the real powers of this is, if your senior leader has 5 key priorities, you ought to have a maximum of 5 priorities, and they need to absolutely link to a senior leader's priority or your boss's priority. If we do that, it keeps the entire organization very much aligned to what the senior leader actually wants to achieve, and we make these very explicit and and open. Then what is the number one priority of the moment? What are we working on today? What are we working on primarily this week? What is this very much about? Hence the 5+1. You can put this together in different ways. It's a little bit more interesting, tiny bit more fun. You can have icon type of models with this. Now, folks sometimes suggest that you want to, there's a gentleman called Pomodoro who has this concept of 25 minutes of mindfulness. Now that's another piece to overlay with this. We might want to be very clear and really thoughtful and dedicate 25 minutes at a very specific time to our key priorities. So that's that. If you think of the of the priority matrix, what are the things that are not urgent but important? That's where we create value. So that might be a beautiful way to incorporate this this mindfulness around something. When we don't do other stuff, we stay very focused on a very specific key priority. Now I'm just finishing with this. You're in the retail business, you're creating a retail innovation. As you're putting together your final project, you might want to be thinking about the tools that you've learned about that very much appeal to you. Keep it as an icon kind of model so you can actually move and shift and shape, but start building what you think, what's useful for you in your core business to actually do this. So there's a small group of tools that you can use to make things stick.